the weekly program where we take our collective thoughts and upload it to your mind. On today's program, we have, of course, I'm Andrew Moody, the host, and over here, Bobby Del Rio.
Hi.
Over there, Todd Van Allen.
Love you, Siakam.
And right over there, weighing 133 pounds, the one, the only, Lewis Taylor.
I'm texting my kid.
133, that is a very flattering shirt.
Wow.
I know.
133. Where'd that come from?
So hot. I wish I was 133. Okay, so
he's a featherweight champion of the world. This kid's going to make a fight, I tell you.
He's going to take a fall in the second, I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it, Lou. Don't do it, Lou. Look at your heart, Lou.
You come up here and get smacked in the face like I'm getting smacked in the face, you fucker.
So are all three of
horrible.
you being Italian right now? Is that what?
That was horrible, wasn't
That was
it?
very racist of us.
That was
Okay,
really bad.
And speaking of racist,
Accidente.
no, actually, this is a fairly serious story, and actually, it just happened recently. There was a man who opened fire on two Los Angeles police officers sitting in a squad car. Authorities searched for a gunman who shot and critically wounded two Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies who were sitting in their squad car. One is a 31-year-old female deputy, and the other is a 24-year-old male deputy. They underwent surgery Saturday evening. Both graduated from the academy 14 months ago. So is this a coming sign of things to come?
I think it's a continuation of what's always gone on. That this kind of thing has been, and I don't want to suggest that I'm, happy or indifferent about this. Anyone getting shot on either side is horrific. But this has been going on forever, right? You have people in positions of authority over communities that do not appreciate the tenor of that authority, who react. It's a vicious loop. And it's always been there. And unfortunately, it will continue, since I'm not seeing the situation that engenders this kind of action changing.
I just don't think that we can pretend that it's not related to the current climate politically, though, right? It's not just another thing that happens all the time, right? It's like there's a race war happening. There's a war against the police. We can debate whether or not it's warranted, right? I think it's very predictable. So you just see the tensions escalate. It seems like almost like every day, every other day. You had that white kid who shows up, with a gun, and then he killed two other white kids, and then some other white guy shot somebody. And then now somebody takes out a couple cops, and then you see videos of cops arresting black guys and then just kind of being a little rougher than they would, right? And then they're going to go back and they're going to shoot, and it's just going to keep. And so I see both sides. To be honest, I have no idea like what the solution is. It just seems like at some point it needs to stop, or what's going to happen is like you're going to take out 5 cops, and then they're going to go and, instead of using rubber bullets on a crowd, they're going to use real bullets. Like you can just see it moving up, right?
Yeah, but again, this has historical precedence going back to the 1920s. So it does calm down, but then it ramps up, it explodes, and then they call in the National Guard and they start offing people.
Right. So no one, first of all, the best wishes to the two police officers, because no one deserves to be shot or killed when they're doing their job. And I hope that they find the person that did this and give them the same trial procedure that anyone who shoots someone in an unarmed fashion or in a point blank, completely incapacitated fashion would also be prosecuted. And so this should go across not just civilian lines, but I would say use this as an example to prosecute everyone who is doing this. And that includes police officers who are still having a bit of a walk around while there's calls for their prosecution that is not happening.
And on top of that, there was the police officer who shot. There was a story a while ago where a black caregiver of a disabled man was lying prone on the ground, and the police officer shot him, and that police officer was just let off. And so I think that, again, I agree with you. It's horrible when these acts happen. And I agree with you, Lewis, that, it's been happening forever. It's, from the 1920s to the Black Panther movement to, even after the Rodney King riots, there were incidents of people attacking police officers. But I also think that it speaks to something fundamental about the nature of America, and that it's, I know, Bobby, you feel like it's on the verge of a race war, but America has always been on the verge of a race war. And I think it's actually a fundamental aspect of the country. And it's like, a virus. It's like, herpes. It flares up and you will never get rid of it. It's like a virus. It's in your body.
The problem is, though, is that
I'm wondering, though.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Liz.
You're freezing.
Oh, no, I just stood there.
No, you're freezing, Lewis.
Well,
I'm freezing?
Let me just jump in while you both have fuck off for a second.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I guess it, really?
Oh, I think he's trying to fix his
Okay.
Doesn't it just feel more peaceful?
I'm gonna need the cord.
I guess we're pausing.
I suppose, but I really want to hear what Todd. Screw it, Todd. What did you have to say? We're keeping this.
If he comes back naked, I'm going to be unimpressed.
I don't know.
I'm expecting him to come back naked. The problem
gonna
is
cut
like,
this
yes, like
out,
we're in a
right?
horrible
we're keeping it
position
in.
right now.
Sorry, as you were saying,
Todd.
Keeping it in.
We're in, to Lewis's point, we're in a horrible position where this is becoming cyclical. However, I think the wave that we're experiencing now is aggravated further by the fact that the current incumbent in the United States has said if he doesn't win, it's a fake election, just take to the streets, and that is inflaming an already horrible situation. Because basically what he is doing is taking, and if you don't see this as like a racist hat tip, just look at the supporters he's trying to garner the attention of. So this is going to be the problem, is that, yeah, we are experiencing a race riot, and part of the problem is the guy who's currently in charge, who will throw his toys out of the pram when he, if and when he does get ousted from the position. He will declare it to be fake, and then everyone will take to the streets.
Well,
I
let me
think
ask
one
you
of
a
the
question.
things,
Do you
though,
think the cops were killed because of Trump? Like, do you think that was a reaction to Donald Trump?
That's speculation. I don't think anyone can answer that.
Well, we're all speculating.
One of the things that I wanted to actually to say with
well, I'm not going to not speak because you speak over me, right?
I am not going to let you speak over and act like you can speak whenever you want.
First.
I am going to decide who talks next. I will
disagree. Okay,
now, hold on a second, guys.
I'll shut up.
I know this is an emotional topic, and I know we all want to get our points in. And also, too, Zoom is a really bad medium for like discourse. It's really bad. I think.
Okay, it's between Bobby and I. Bobby, speak.
Exactly.
Well, I was speaking, and then you just fucking cut me off and started.
Oh, you want
to
ramp it up?
No, he didn't mean to. Come on, it's like go, Bobby.
Todd brought up Donald Trump. We're talking about the police, and I asked a very direct question: do we think that shooting of the police was a response to Donald Trump? Because I don't. Because I think what's happening is that now with multiculturalism, you have more people of color than have ever existed in the history of the continent. And I think it's a mistake to think that this race war, we can call it whatever we want, is just a temporary blip on the radar. And once Joe Biden comes in, everything goes back to normal. I don't think that, because I see the next generation being very, very angry. There's a lot more people of color. You see institutions changing, and I don't think it's temporary. I think it's unprecedented, and I think there's political change happening. You see anti-white sentiment happening, and I think in a way it's good depending on where you are, but I see a lot of very angry white people who are going to fight back.
I also,
Okay, so
I think that, there are a lot of angry white people, and some of them are women in England.
okay, hold on. No,
One
I
of them
didn't get
is-
to make my final points or my
Okay,
point.
Okay, sure, but we do have to keep it moving.
Yeah,
Go on.
understood. And Bobby, when you pose a question and it's rhetorical, I need to know. So what I'm going to say to this is also a question, which is kind of rhetorical. Do Americans consider it an actual American right to continue a race war that started with the instigation of the country?
Mhm.
Is it actually an American right?
Well, I think it is a right to be respected, no matter what your gender, no matter what your gender preference. And unfortunately, the author J.K. Rowling doesn't necessarily agree. Or I think, well, she's in the news, not necessarily because she's made a statement necessarily, but she's penned a book under the pseudonym of Robert Galbraith called Troubled Blood. And it's the 5th book featuring a private investigator named Cormoran Strike. And the book is basically about a transvestite serial killer. And it's inspired a lot of anger. Now, transvestite serial killers have appeared before in film and in media and in storytelling. The reason why we're talking about it is because of J.K. Rowling's statements about trans people and her being considered a TERF. Now, what do you think it'll take for J.K. Rowling to just shut the heck up and leave this alone?
Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I guess for me, I don't know if she's doing this for publicity and attention, which she probably doesn't need. She's already rich, but she just, she probably, she likes being in the spotlight, I think, or maybe she just hates trans people, because it's not like you can write a book about whatever you want, right? But if all of a sudden you've been sort of attacking a community steadily for a year, 2 years, and then you just happen to have this inherent metaphor that describes perfectly your hatred for the community, you can't be shocked if people are like, oh, this really seems like you hate trans people. You've got a story of a man who dresses up like women and kills people, right? It's like pretty obvious metaphor here. And I guess I don't understand what's to be gained from continuing this fight.
Yeah, but I think and I think it's something we all do. We have a point of view that is core to who we are. We put it out there, possibly expecting that it's going to be validated because, if you're an author and a billionaire and you've had one of the biggest biggest series in the history of writing, you're going to think that your opinion is respected, right, amongst a broad breadth of people. And when that ego stroke doesn't come back to you positively, I think there might be a bit of a God complex, Old Testament kind of, oh yeah, well here, fire and plague and blah, blah, blah. I don't think it's that extreme, but I'm just saying, I think she had a moment of, what you fuckers?
Right.
What?
Nobody
When Lewis
fucks with JK.
said we've all done that, I was waiting for him to finish off the sentence. We've all done that. We've all written transphobic literature. All of us. Remember?
No, we've all had those moments. We've all had those moments.
Remember when we had that moment where we wrote transphobic novels? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember?
No.
Remember that?
No,
I'm glad I
don't.
didn't go there. I'm so glad I didn't go
Clearly
there.
doing it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
The issue is just, is she doing it because she just is trying to sell a book? She wants to stay in the spotlight? Or is she actually just like, you want to fuck with JK? All right. Here you go, trans people.
But also too, like Todd, you're a comedian, right? So how do you feel about, like, I mean, there have got to be comedians out there that do material that you completely disagree with.
They're few and far between. I mean, I think with the ones that I love and respect are certainly on the right side of the argument. The thing that I've always found, and I've been trying to sum this up, and I can't remember who posted this the other day. The reason that right-wing comedy and Republican comedy isn't comedy and doesn't work is because there's no empathy. And in all comedy, there needs to be a degree of empathy. Like, you can hate something, but the reason that you hate it is because it is troubling for other people. There's always sort of like that sentiment. And it's like, I am not getting into like a Lewis Black, let me tell you what I fucking hate about Q-tips type rant. What I'm saying is, like, you know, there's always kind of an undercurrent of this is wrong, this is unjust, and I'm going to talk about it. It's not to say that things can't be zany and stupid and wacky in comedy, but if you're going for more politicized content, it's important to be on that side of the argument. I mean, like, when you watch early Dennis Miller versus Dennis Miller now, a very, very different comic. I refer to it as, you know, the time when Dennis Miller was a comedian. Now he is not. Yeah. And if you just want examples of horrible right-wing comedy, just go on Twitter. Look for a meme. Chances are you're going to look at that and go, that's not a joke. So yeah, it's the lack of empathy. It's the lack of being able to read the room, and it's the lack of being able to. It's okay to punch up and punch down. I don't mind punching down on Trump supporters because they have elevated themselves to what they think is up. So even though I'm punching at a Trump supporter who is wearing a red hat and mowing the lawn outside their double wide, who am I kidding? They don't mow the lawn. They don't care for outside things. I have no problems with that because they have elevated themselves to a position of what they deem to be as an authority. Yeah. And we are now suffering to that.
On the empathy tip, that I agree with you, and it's not just a right-wing thing. I showed no empathy to Bobby, and so I owe Bobby a complete talkover. Like, you choose your time, talk the fuck over me.
So here's my point. I'm actually going to disagree with you that you need to provide any fucking empathy for me whatsoever. You can tell me to go fuck myself. I have no problem with that.
I've done that a dozen times already.
Let me try it.
But Todd, you bring up an interesting point because, look, I think that politically we're very similar in the way we think. But, you know, I find it interesting because on the right, there's definitely a lot of people who don't have empathy, right? Mm-hmm. But you also have people who just disagree, and they have a lot of people who follow them. So It's an interesting thing, right? So you know, like, I'm nonpartisan, but you see the left and the right. And I was just listening to, it was like a Black podcast where they were, you know, sort of predictably eviscerating Candace Owens. But it's an interesting debate because, you know, there's a lot of people who follow Candace Owens. So how do you discern whether or not someone's popularity is valid? I mean, this is sort of what we're discussing, right?
Okay, really is, like with J.K. Rowling. She had this fan base that just grew, like, and it was her origin story was actually really, really great, where she's just dead end job, hated her life, you know, on the tube, planned out the entire series, and then off she went. And then the problem with fame and money and any modicum of publicized power just extends where you are. So it turns out not the nicest person. If you're a good person and you get like a lot of shit, you're going to stay a good person. If you're not a good person, you get a lot of shit. Guess what? You're probably going to stay an asshole.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Well, and so I think this is probably where this sort of resides. And I think there's a problem there. I think the problem that we're seeing with J.K. Rowling right now has always been there, and now it's just the flourish of like, hey, I can say anything I want, which is why we suddenly have Kanye pissing on a Grammy in a toilet. You know, it's the same sort of thing. One side note, just before Lewis, you go in, I love the exchanges here because when I'm describing this show to friends of mine who say, what's this upload thing you're on? Because, well, it's me, two black guys and an Asian fella. And then I have to go, no, wait, I'm not the argumentative one.
And also, it's not the beginning of a joke. You know, okay, there's two guys.
Yeah.
Guys named Scott and me.
The thing I wanted to
Robot.
say about that, though, is that you look at anyone, like she has a self-admitted relatively traumatic past, right, with sexual abuse. And I don't know the particulars about it. But I do know, and this is where I have a problem with definitions of left and right. There is a point people come to as far as lacking empathy is concerned, especially if they've been personally bashed from a very young age, right? Like they got through it, not through empathy, right? So I don't expect from people that have been seriously abused, and I know a lot of people on the left that have come through really hard times, and you get them on a subject, right? Or talking about people who bring up these feelings of abuse, they will go fuck off on you.
Mm-hmm.
And understandably so. So left, right.
So I owe you this, Lou, because I had no idea about the backstory of J.K. Rowling. So this is news to me.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is completely valid. But
What?
yeah, it is.
Really? What?
But you also brought up this other point of like the difference between left and right is that we've hit a point right now where it literally is there's no a la carte, there's no salad bar offering in how you choose to position yourself politically in the eyes of others, because you can be like, oh yeah, I'm for climate change, and I think we need a equal pay grade, and I think we need to look after the environment and the little ones, but hey, I'm kind of religious and I don't want gay marriage to happen. Boo! And then you're just like chastised, you're thrown off the cart. And I think that is something that we've kind of lost, that you're not looking at 80 or 90% of the people, because no one is going to like everything that you like, and no one has the complete point of view.
Yeah.
But there's and I'm guilty of this myself, where I'm just like, oh, you're racist, fuck you. Well, that's probably a big one. That's not a good example, but
I will say this though, like I have my movie The Market right now. The Market, go watch it on demand and get. But it's interesting, and there's two black guys to the south of me who wrote me testimonials, so thank you very much. But there's two audience types for me, and they probably hate each other, right? You have more left-leaning, thoughtful, intellectual types that understand that my movie is an allegory for capitalism, and then you have these dudes who don't understand the irony of my premise and are like, yeah, burn it down, party girls, And it's very weird because it's the same piece, but it's interpreted wildly. And quite frankly, both audience cohorts help my film. So I don't know, is it a disgusting, vile piece of contemptuous shit, or is it this, sort of astute allegory of capitalism?
I think that, in any audience, you'll find left and right. But here's the thing. The military, if you're a soldier, you have to stay apolitical. You just have to. And one of the things that the military's counterintelligence branch found, they took a close look at a pair of Canadian Rangers as early as 4 years ago, and they discovered that these Rangers were involved in a far-right organization, and the Department of National Defense allowed them to keep serving. And I think partially one of the reasons why the Department of Defense allowed them to keep serving is because if you pull that thread on that sweater, you're going to find that you won't have a military left. I think that there's racism rampant in the Canadian military. And honestly, and I knew that already, but I'm like, what do you do about it? I don't know.
I remember talking to a friend who was in the militia, and he used to have a Christmas party and I think we talked about this before, if I remember. He used to have a party at the armory. And I was talking to a young black captain there, and I asked him, so what is the percentage of yahoos to, I don't want to say decent people, but that's essentially what I implied.
I think once you throw Yahoo out there, I think decent people is probably assumed.
Yeah, like, guys that aren't going to go out there and headhunt people they think are, inferior, right? And
no, someone who's not showing up after maneuvers with a bandolier of ears.
Yeah, exactly. And while I wouldn't quite take it that far, the percentage that he gave me was 80% Yahoo to 20% decent folk. And on top of that said that the whatever the outfit coming out of Toronto is, whatever their designation, brigade or whatever, that they were not liked by the rest of the Canadian military because they were so diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the military, these young guys, small towns, and also a lot of the military come out of Nova Scotia, and Nova Scotia has
Quebec.
For over a century had a problem with race and racism.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of parallels between the military and the police, and it's like I'm trying to be like, oh, how can we ever solve the racial tension between the police? And it's again, it's not going to happen. I understand, but then I'm thinking, and I think it was you, Moody, and you really said something very intelligent before. And at one point
No,
you said something intelligent. No, but it was about like the kind of people who become cops, right? And it's the same thing with military, and I think actually, and Lou as well. Like you guys were talking about, it's like men with guns, and it's that's sort of the problem. You take any man, you put them, you give them, but then what are cops? What is the military? It's usually men with guns, and I think there's a certain personality type that's drawn to, hold on, I get to have a gun. I get like, and yeah, we need these people because there are other people who just want to break laws and invade us or whatever. So there is a need for police. There is a need for the military, but at the same time, the people who are drawn to protect us, right? And some of them really want to protect us, and I think some people just want to fuck shit up legally.
Mm-hmm. And
how do you extricate that personality from the job?
Yeah,
but that's the whole thing. I mean, part of the discussion around defunding the police isn't just like, yeah, fucking starve them. It's like, no, let them do the job they're supposed to do, which is protecting us and being the sort of that armed perimeter that we have. But we are sending them on these blind dates of horror where they're literally only showing up with one hammer and then everything in front of them looks like a nail. So you can't have them show up ready to start hitting things when we need social workers to do some of the jobs. We need infant care people to do some of the jobs. We need people who are well equipped to deal with the mentally ill and the handicapped and let them do their jobs. So it's not just starving the fuck out of the police. It is making sure that we're throwing money into the right areas and doing it that way.
And you brought up the story about the Edmonton Police Services unveiling a newly purchased $500,000 armored vehicle Wednesday. Now, Louis, do you think that that's a solution?
Depends on your mind frame. I mean, a lot of people think that, I remember reading this, and I think we talked about it before, General LeMay, whose solution to communism was nuclear weapons. And a Northern Hemisphere permanent winter that, some of us would survive. So solutions, I don't really like the idea of human beings talking about solutions. It's kind of going to get messy. Mm-hmm. And as far as the military or the police, or in fact, looking at, mixed martial arts or sports teams, there is a mentality where authority is respected. Right? You respect those that are in a higher position than you, and you expect respect from those below you. There's a hierarchy, and you adhere to that. It's very tribal. It's what we've been most successful as a species at creating. Successful in the sense that we've managed to wipe out anything that could possibly threaten us except for microbes. So there is a kind of guarded positive to that mentality, but it's also going to take us out as a species. When you talk about invasions and protecting us from invasions, the mindset is similar to the people that are going to be invading you.
I think you brought up a very good point. Like so many things in modern culture are very tribal, and it existed as long as human beings have been alive, and it even exists today in Nigeria. It's something that something, right? Was that good? That was
the best.
Exactly.
It looked like he was.
Sometimes I have like an edit of all your segues when I'm alone at night, feeling lonely.
Just over and over again. Just over and over.
And your zipper is where? Where are the zippers?
Speaking of
zipper
lonely.
on your pants?
One hand snuck down the trowel, the other on the mouse. There's the moody segue. I'm in a moody mood.
Speaking of self-love, I just couldn't wait. I couldn't resist.
Thank you.
But this is you complete me. But this is actually it's a bit of a tragic story. Like in Nigeria, there were these young lovers. It's kind of reminiscent of Romeo and Juliet, who killed themselves earlier this month because their parents had forbidden them from marrying each other because one of them is a descendant of slaves. Nigeria. The lovers.
Wait, but I don't understand. Like, what's the thinking behind that?
Well, wait for it. The lovers were in their early 30s, and they are from, I'm going to mispronounce this name, Okija, in southeastern Anambra State. Oh, fuck me.
Give it up, dude.
Where slavery was officially abolished in the early 1900s. But the descendants of freed slaves among the Igbo ethnic group are considered to be lesser than those who had never been slaves. It's kind of like, gold star gay, it's like, someone who's a lesbian who's never touched a penis, it's like they're Africans who are like, oh, we've never been enslaved, so therefore we are superior. We ran faster, we were smarter. And those of us
I prefer my slaves not to be caught.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Don't forget there's also slavery in Africa.
There is still slavery in Africa to this day.
Part of that article that was interesting was there was a religious component to it as well. Those that were the slaves of the gods, and how that idea shifted from you are the people or whatever the concept was of these gods, shifted through colonialism. But what do I know? I don't know shit.
It just seems like such a fucking creative and convoluted way to find an excuse to hate somebody. You know what I mean? It's like I need to find a way. It's like you're bald and I hate black bald men from a particular region because that affects my ability to have hair in the future. Like it's like.
Can I ask a question though? I assume that Moody is bald, but I think I see a hairline way the fuck. Oh, wow, there it is.
No,
okay.
It's there.
No, you don't.
Okay.
It's there.
No, you
But
don't.
this is the thing about human beings, right? It's like we're constantly trying to like size each other up and sort of stratify each other.
But I think a lot of it is so much of it is based on self-interest, and you see, and it's always been my issue with equality. What are you talking about? Because the other side is going to be like, okay, what are you taking away from me? And the other side to that is, well, I'm going to get some stuff, and we will come up with, especially. There's so many conquests gone on throughout history. You go to India, you go to Malay, you go to anywhere, and you will see these types of structures. It's not, something that was just created through West Asian colonialization.
This whole thing kind of reminds me of, and this was way before COVID, and when I was living in Toronto, I was walking the dog through Trinity Bellwoods, and there's a bunch of guys that were kind of walking through. It's mostly white guys, and there's one black guy there, and they were all the white guys were hipsters, and the black guy was trying his best to fit in with this group. And so he had like the short pants and the Toms, and he had suspenders, and he had kind of a big swoop of hair like this. It was kind of cropped down like that with a like a trilby on top. And I was just like, why are you trying to be all the shitty things about white people? Why are you trying to
Dude.
hipster up your game? And this just reeks of that. Is like, learn from white people's mistakes. Don't do slavery. Try not to be racism. Just let us lay down the razor wire, and you go, oh, not that. Let's not do that.
I actually think they had slavery probably long before, West Asia or Europe existed. So
it's like all things that white people do, right from rock and roll to slavery. We see what other races are doing with it, take it and claim it as our own, and then mass market it. So
Exactly, and mass market it. Yeah. Here's the thing, though, Todd. There may be racist people out there. There are also a lot of white people out there, and you seem to hate some white people. So is there any particular white person you hate this week?
It's a bit forced.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was reaching.
It
wasn't my best work.
It's we look at this.
I'm gonna zip up now. I
double. We're gonna first of all, I've noticed in the past, like for quite a while, my segment has been a bit of a sausage party. Not a lot of equality.
And you had Ann in there.
Across the gender. Sure, Ann Coulter's an easy, that's a slam dunk. It's totally a slam dunk. It's like, I don't really consider her a woman, to be fair. She's more just a spirit, just an angry, she's just an angry collection of coat hangers. Like, she's just that. So I'm going to correct my my ways on this week, and I've got a twofer this week. I think we all know Kelly Loeffler.
No.
Kelly Loeffler. She is the senator from Georgia, and Martha McSally, who's the senator in Arizona. Both are not doing well, thank Christ. Not physically, I mean, like, in the polls. Loeffler, you might know her as the co-owner of the Atlanta Dream in the WNBA, and she was one of the people that got rich from insider trading right after the first COVID briefing, where they dropped everything, and then she got money into logistics companies and Zoom, and that's how she made it. The WNBA as a whole actually tried to distance themselves from Loeffler, because she came out with this great statement about them trying to promote Black Lives Matter, like the NBA was doing in the WNBA. And she said, to subscribe to a particular political agenda undermines the potential of the sport and sends a message of exclusion. So already a fuck you to you, Kelly. And Martha McSally is the senator in Arizona. She's currently down 10 points to Mark Kelly, who is the Democrat candidate for her seat. She had a skip a meal to fund her campaign rally, and her campaign includes opposing gay marriage, privatizing Social Security, and raising the retirement age. That's a 1-2 punch. She opposes net neutrality, wants to repeal Obamacare, has received over $400,000 or almost $400,000 from gun groups, which is the 5th most of any federal lawmaker since 1989. That's a feat. She supports withdrawing from the Paris Accord, opposes minimum wage raising to $15, and she's also pro-life. So this really ticks a lot of the good boxes, I think we'll agree. And when both these people were asked recently, and again, their campaigns are pretty much in the toilet and circling the bowl, if they felt any bad doing when Trump was saying that he was under assuming and underreporting to the American people the dangerousness of the COVID virus, and then did nothing for 100 days. Loeffler said no. It was not a concern that the president lied about the virus. In fact, she called it fake news. And when Martha McSally was asked about the same question, she said to the press, "You guys are awful."
That's a lot to digest. I'm going to push back a little bit on the WNBA owner thing, because it is a fact that NBA and NFL ratings have gone down significantly. And I think that politics and business are different things. And we're in such a bifurcated world right now that it's not shocking to me that an ardent capitalist would be vehemently apolitical to increase the bottom line. I don't, I think if somebody was like anti Black Lives Matter because they were an asshole, fine. But if you're anti-politics because you don't want your viewership to suffer, that to me is a different conversation.
I would agree with that, Bobby, if she wasn't a fucking senator. The fact that she is a senator and owns that team, the fact that it goes against anything that she would say politically, I think is a bit of a pill.
I think a lot of it.
I think she, if she wanted to have full clarity on that, she would just allow the league to do it, and then she, as an owner, would stay quiet. The fact she had to step up and say something puts her now in that fray. She could have been silent and just let the league do what it wanted to do and abstain, which is something these people don't know how to do. No, still fuck her. That's why.
I think what the thing for me is, did she pull what Canadian politicians are famous for, which is, okay, how do we obfuscate our agenda? Mm-hmm. Right? How do I make this palatable while pursuing an objective that has that's totally oriented away from what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
did you guys, as a side note, did you see the photo op that Aaron O'Toole took watching the Game 7 of the Raptors series? So it's this lovely picture of and again, it's like his Twitter feed, obviously a photo op. It's like, settling in right now to watch the Raptors play. And so he's in this leatherback chair. He has a screen about the size of a laptop on the other side of the room. He is still in his suit. That's relaxing. And he's crouched on the edge of he looks so uncomfortable. And I just reposted it with okay, this is the inner thoughts of Aaron O'Toole. Okay, we're going to do this photo op. All right, here's the game. I'm glad. Whoa, there's a lot of black people. Yeah.
Who is he? I have no idea who you're talking
Aaron O'Toole is the federal leader for the Conservative Party right now.
Yeah, he's a white man.
Oh, right. I knew that.
Yeah, he's a white man. And oh no, I'm too reaching. No, I was trying to okay, wow. So Aaron's white, and then I have to, never mind. So,
well, maybe I can help you out a little bit, and you'll find a segue, because I will say, I'm going to push back a little bit on Aaron O'Toole, and I don't know, and maybe you're right, Todd, maybe he's a virtue signaling piece of shit. It's very possible, but he's heavily recruiting people of color and women and people from the LGBTQ community to join the Conservative Party. They're doing the same thing with the Republican Party. Look, our continent and our world is diversifying, which is really the larger conversation here. I guess for me, I don't know, right? Because it's do you have people who actually want to bring people of color and women and different people into the fold, or are they just manipulating us to get votes and power? I'm not sure.
Absolutely, they're manipulating to get votes and power, because the Conservative Party and all politicians love power. But I, however, love white people.
There you go.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that sentence.
I Gretzky'd the shit out of that.
I am so glad. I thought you were going to say they love power and I love white power. Oh my God, Andrew. Oh my God, that's my line.
I have a wasp on the window that I have to open it to let the wasp out. You go ahead and talk about wasps.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Well done.
Well done. Let the wasps
out. This week, I am calling attention to Basil Sylvester. Basil Sylvester is a non-binary writer based in Toronto. Their father, Kevin Sylvester, is a broadcaster and the award-winning illustrator and writer of middle-grade books such as Neil Flambe Capers and the Mirns Space Adventure series. I don't know. I'm not hip. I'm not young. I'm not a kid. I don't know.
Learn to pronounce what you love.
I know, exactly. The duo co-wrote a middle grade novel called The Fabulous Zed Watson, and it's for ages 8 to 12, and it features a non-binary lead character who embarks on the literary scavenger hunt and road trip of a lifetime, and it's coming out in January 2021. And I just wanted to call out attention to him then, and to say, God damn it. And to say, I'm
You
so
just did my
canceled.
joke.
I know, exactly. I want to call it attention to them and to say this is an amazing time, and that to have writers like this and works like this for kids, well, like when I was growing up, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was, as a matter of fact, there was barely people of color in children's books, let alone non-binary main characters. So, you know, my hat's off to you, Basil Sylvester.
So for next show, can I suggest we discuss whether this, as is for a segment, whether the shooting of these two cops has given Trump the election?
Oh, that's a great thing to talk about in our next episode. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this week. Hey, tap that bell, hit that like, thumbs up, what the thing with the subscribe, and see you guys next week.
Oh.
Moody's being spontaneous again.
There you go. I think the wasp got out.
Very good.